Assalamu alaikum. My name is Markosias on Reddit. Most people in real life know me as Chaplain Marco. Anyway, hello torture survivors on Reddit and elsewhere. I don't know how far this is going to go. But anyway, I know that I promised that I was going to do a longer guide for how to survive torture as an adult. I've been up many sleepless nights. I keep re-triggering myself, thinking. Every time I write, I just keep coming up with flashbacks. So this time, I'm trying it on video. Not too many people know what I look like anyway. So I was a writer. Nobody really cares what a writer looks like. So here we are. Anyway, first things first. If you are still in captivity, if you are still being held against your will, if you are still being harmed, the very first thing you need to do is find a way to get to safety. Get away from your abusers. Get away from the person who is torturing you. Find any resource you can to get out and do not return. Yeah, my cat's agreeing. Anyway, I know that seems very difficult, but let me give you a couple of ways and scenarios about how that can maybe look like and maybe what we can do about that. So my specialty, unfortunately, is family abuse. A lot of families, there seems to be a model of family where you have members of the family who are meant to be enslaved to other members of the family. So you have some family members who are coddled and loved and given appropriate affection, and other family members who are scapegoated since birth and treated like absolute dog shit in hopes that they will become horribly codependent and feel so regretful about their existence that they will somehow be grateful for the abuse that they're receiving because, we're worthless and undeserving of decency and common courtesy by people just because they say so, which isn't true at all. A lot of us who've survived a great deal of family abuse have been lied to, gaslit, and confused time and time again, being told, hey, that's your family, they love you. Obviously not. Because if they loved you, if they truly loved you, they'd be protecting you from harms, not perpetuating them. So we have this entire cultural dichotomy going on where we have this culture where the majority of people have good enough parents. They have parents that love, they do their best, they take care of their kids, they make some mistakes, they might yell at their kids on occasion, they might, lose control once or twice and feel horribly guilty about it. Now, the other side is practically invisible to the first side, and that's people who have that uncontrolled moment all the time, every day, not knowing how we're going to survive, not knowing how we're going to get from one day to the next without our primary abuser, without our parent or whoever it is in our household trying to fucking murder us. And that's a real concern. And then on the outside, as they pretend everything's fine and make us into the problem children. Now, this continues into adulthood. Childhood abuse is often covered by other family members because they understand that they will be culpable legally if felonious abuse is discovered, which means the loss of employment, loss of opportunities, and public shame. So as opposed to sacrificing the rest of the family or even holding the abuser accountable, things go on and on and on. And the abuses accumulate, the felonies grow, and nobody's reporting them because nobody wants to be connected to it. So what they do is they gaslight the child or the individual that's being abused, and they completely shape the social narrative around them. That, no, they're crazy, they're mentally ill. No. Nobody would ever do that. She's clearly making that up. Because usually it's a she. Usually it's a daughter who doesn't fit into a little daughter cutout of, perfect femininity. Someone who, people have children a lot of the time wanting to have little mini-me's or trying to fulfill some sort of internal desire to create something in their image, not to actually acknowledge a new soul that's coming into the world to share and grow and be interested in seeing what is this new person here who is coming to spend, the next 18 to life with me on this hellhole called Earth. This is not a great place here. There is nobody who is without troubles. However, those of us that have survived childhood abuses have a little bit more troubles than most. Because if we stay in the communities in which we were raised, we will be re-victimized. We will not be believed. Anybody who becomes close to us, who meets our parents, who meets our grandparents, who meets the people who have a vested interest in keeping the abuses silent, and keeping the past hidden, and keeping their true natures hidden. You know, in abusive families, it's believed that all the other normal families out there, oh, their kids are better behaved, and that's why, they don't get abused, they don't get yelled at, they don't get hit, they don't get starved, they deserve to take hot showers and baths in the bathroom as opposed to in the unheated laundry tub in the Florida room or outside. That other kids are more deserving and respectful of, basic care and courtesy because they're good and you're bad. Because, you're not showing love and appreciation for the people that are putting you down, beating you, and harming you in every way possible and taking pleasure in it. This continues. When you're an adult, the expectation is that you're going to put all this behind you, that you're going to mature and forgive your parents for whatever horrible things they did and move forward as if nothing happened, like it's a skeleton in the closet. Now, for those of us who have permanent injuries, psychologically and physically, from childhood abuse, that becomes nearly impossible. I was strangled repeatedly. I have actual, on my x-ray, indentations. I was a very small child when she was strangling me. Fingerprints. To the point where doctors asked me if I was in a car accident. And I don't do any of that weird sexual breath play stuff. I'm actually very, very vanilla. I don't like having things around my neck, which make things kind of difficult as a Muslim, where I have to go into, places where people are LARPing being Saudi Arabian as opposed to living in modern times. But, live and let live, when in Rome, dress as the Romans do. You don't wear a tuxedo to pick oranges. However, that being said, a lot of you are wondering why you're not getting out. You're not getting out because the other people in your family don't want you to. They don't love you. If they loved you, they would have intervened. If they loved you, they would have been horrified and hurt, and they would have done anything to stop that from happening to you while you were helpless. But they didn't. And they want you to sweep it under the rug because they still don't love you. And anything that you do to stand up for yourself and make anything better for yourself than the narrative that they have created, they will do anything to drag you down. I was prevented from going to college. I had a full scholarship to the University of Colorado. I was emancipated at 17. My parents claimed me on their taxes, and that was enough to lose it. I finally went to college again at 27. My parents were then divorced at that time. My father, no, your mother was the abusive one, agreed, and he wanted to make right by me, so he decided to take out a small loan every year. He decided to attract the loan midway through my last semester because he didn't agree with my course of study. I ended up losing my housing, and I was homeless for my last semester of college at the age of 31, when I had a 3.6 GPA, published papers, and I ended up getting 3 BAs anyway, and I was actually supported by my professors, and quite a few of them. Although there's problems there as well, but we're not going to get into that. So, every time I've tried to rise above, while I was living in the area of my family, they got in the way of my relationships. They told people that I loved to break up with me. They have encouraged unhealthy relationships with abusive people that I was in because those people were more socially acceptable. I had cancer. I lost my uterus. Thank God I never wanted kids. I was told from the time as early as I can remember, there was no point in them paying for my college because I was just going to be a housewife anyway. I was just going to have babies. I can tell you for a fact, being beaten and screamed at every single day for the significant portion of my early infancy all the way through my teenage years put a sense of anti-natalism in me so hard that I became a crusader. You know, in high school, I was accompanying girls to get abortions that reminded me of my parents. You know, like, oopsie, I got pregnant. Am I going to raise it? No, you're not. You don't want somebody to be like me. I've spent my entire life preventing more accidents like myself. I have taken girls to abortions. I have found people that have reminded me of my parents, watched them abuse their kids, and collected evidence on them for months and worked with detectives for absolutely no pay whatsoever, time and time and time again. And I put them in jail, or I put them in the psych ward, and I had their kids placed with somebody who actually gave a shit as they learned how to fucking parent. And most of those kids weren't even abused half as badly as I was. And the amount of seeing how appalled law enforcement have been at lesser situations tells me that I probably went through something pretty significant, and it's pretty fucking amazing that I am as articulate and intelligent and able to convey this as clearly as I can. Because they sure as hell did not want me to. I even had a tongue tie that was easily corrected. I got it corrected at the age of 42. I was stuck speaking with a lisp and other vocal abnormalities for no fucking reason other than for my parents to have me have less credibility as I tried time and time again to get away from them. And I succeeded. I got emancipated at 17. And you know what? I used to think that the non-abusive parent, the one that wasn't beating me, the one that wasn't strangling me, that he was a victim just like me. But you know what? I learned that that's also a fallacy. And a lot of us abuse survivors, we want to believe that the non-abusive parent that is not abusive. But the fact of the matter is, he knew that the abuse was there. He watched it happen. And he still found a woman who literally strangled his child sexually attractive. He literally chose, looking at what this woman has done, and even when she cheated on him, sent jewelry, fancy trips, and that sort of thing. This dude has only given me one decent birthday present in my entire life. We've barely even spoken as adults, because every time I talk to him, you know what he says? Oh, you remind me of your mother, blah, 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 your mother. You know, she's not so bad. It's just like, you only think she's bad because she abused you. Yes, I do. And the fact that you don't think that she's bad is a testament to your own lack of morality. And that's why you are dying alone with a brain tumor, without your chaplain daughter by your bedside like I was for your brother. Because you know what? Stephen actually deserved it. Every time I saw him, gave me a kiss on the forehead. How you doing, princess? And you know what he would do? He'd tell my mother to back the fuck off. He wasn't even my dad. And you know what? After I was tortured by police for reverting to Islam, I tracked that man down. And I found him the week before he was dying. And I thanked him. And I made sure to get him into hospice, to get a beer in his hand, cigarettes, so he can have a good send-off. And then I found after he died, like my family tends to do, they put his ashes in a fucking garbage can. So, yeah. It gets worse. I wasn't even the worst abused in my family. We have an entire section of the family that are the designated prostitutes that have been trafficked by the paternal side of my family. Oh, they're whores. oh, they're prostitutes. And you know what? One of them, my Aunt Tammy, saved me from a similar fate by telling me when I was a little girl, dress as a boy and they'll leave you alone. And you know what? She was fucking right. And despite everything that was done to her, despite her own parents selling her, despite my family selling her time and time again as they laughed at her, you know what she did? The right thing. She put her kids up for adoption. She chose good homes for them. And you know what she does every single day? She holds her grandbabies, her beautiful grandbabies who love her. And despite all the ways that she's been looked down on all these years, and all these ways that she's been called all these names by my grandparents and by my parents and by other people in the family, you know, for whatever flaws Tammy may have, the fact of the matter is none of you fuckers saved her. All of you are so looking for someone to look down on that you create victims, that you create the very problems that you complain about. My grandfather likes calling people after they get out of rehab or out of psych ward, or in my case, getting out of treatment for being tortured, to tell them that they're worthless and that they should kill themselves. 2 people have died because of him. When my uncle got out of rehab, getting that phone call from my grandfather telling him what a loser he was, I guess it just made him give up and die of cirrhosis. Not even that many years later. And then his son killed himself with a heroin overdose. Little actions like that have big, long-reaching consequences. Ooh, kitty. And you know what those consequences are? You get what you put into people. And when you don't give people love, you don't get love back at the end. When you put people down, when you hurt other people, it's not other people who take revenge on you. It's nature itself. It's God himself. Because you know what? That same man who put down so many people, that same man who made fun of my trafficked aunt, who, you know, beat down everybody, who wasn't keeping up the semblance of perfection that he attempted, that man is now senile. And so is his wife. The one who pretended at Christianity as a church secretary for all those years, but didn't have any of the ways of Jesus about her. Talked about how her family loved to curse people, and how, you know, the great storied Pennsylvania witchcraft that went all the way back in her family, and the little things that she used to do to hex people. Real Christian. You know, the way that she would take food out of the food pantry because the poor people didn't deserve it. I am now on disability, and I have been since about 2012. But that doesn't make me worthless or useless or unable to contribute to society. In fact, I contribute to society more now as a disabled person than I did prior. And let me tell you how. Nobody took away my education. My degrees still exist. All the knowledge that I've earned, for the most part, that hasn't been taken by a stroke, still exists. My heart is still mostly whole, and as much as it's going to be. I still have the ability to help other people who have survived similar things to what I have and help get them out of bad situations. If you need help getting out of your situation, I don't charge. I've seen a lot of shit. I've helped a lot of people. I'll do the best I can for you. I'll try to connect you to the best resources I can, because you know what? I got out. I've seen other people get out. And, you know, with the entire internet out there, hopefully we can find a way for you to get out too. I'm sorry if I get off track and I ramble and I sound like absolute nonsense sometimes, but this is the disability that I live with. Every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I live with excruciating flashbacks. I get to see my child abuse. I get to, you know, hear my mother screaming pejoratives at me in the back of my head. I'm so glad I never developed multiple personalities. I just have memories. And when I'm not dealing with that, I'm watching my best friend get tortured over and over and over again. I had to watch the guy drink poison live on BBC. And that was actually worse in many ways in my childhood, because him I actually love. You know, that's my friend. That's someone who actually cares about me. That's someone who actually wants the best for me. Versus people who have spent their entire life bringing me down, only wanting to support me if I do what they want and fit their image of what a woman or a daughter should be. Quiet and compliant and uncomplaining and accepting of abuse and say, yes, please, master, give me more, hit me more, I deserve it. I'm like the slave that I... No. Fuck that shit. Fuck this nonsense. And also, while I'm at it, fuck the entire acceptance of the BDSM community, because all it's doing is perpetuating and making abuse more acceptable. And I'm not even going to argue with you in the comments. Understand I'm religious, and understand I got my reasons here. But there is nobody who can tell me that hitting another person, causing another person pain, is healing in any capacity in a long-term way whatsoever for the person individually or for us as a society. We need to move away from this violence. We need to move away from finding any form of interpersonal, physical assault, verbal assault, anything that's unbecoming of civilized adults and civilization. We're no longer a civilization, people. Look at us. Look at our entire... We're completely divided. Everybody hates everybody else. There's wrong think, there's wrong speak. What are we supposed to do? Except for find our own way. And all we can do is our best. Try to be easy on yourselves. Try to take care. Do the best you can. That's all any of us can do. If you have faith, I encourage you to rely on God, or however you see him, them, she, or what have you. But anyway, God bless you all. I did the best I could. And please be kind. I am not a perfect person, and I'm doing my best. All right. Take care.